We're trying to take care of some technical difficulties for just a second.
So do I leave it like this though? Just
And you can mute her.
you want to do that? Okay. Due to the current federal and state emergency declarations, the Minnesota directive to residents to stay at home, and guidance about limiting person-to-person contact due to the COVID-19 coronavirus pandemic, this meeting of the Lisle School Board is being conducted in accordance with the Minnesota statutes 13D.021, meetings by telephone or other electronic means. Due to the health pandemic, the school board determined that it is not feasible for the public to attend this meeting at the regular meeting location due to the health pandemic. Persons may monitor this meeting from a remote location by Zoom. Information on joining the meeting can be found on the school website. Public comments prior to the meeting can be made by contacting the superintendent or the board chair by email. This meeting is being recorded. Access to the recording will be available on the school district's website as soon as is reasonably possible. Item 3, agenda changes or additions. Does everyone have their sheet with, we'll start with the consent agenda changes or additions.
I'd like to move L, M, and R.
So L, M, and R. Well, R is going to be
R is scratched because we
R
are,
is struck
Oh, okay.
from the consent agenda anyways. So move L and M to action and discuss. So that will become E and F. And then we are adding 3 items to consent agenda. Do I need to list those additions? The approval of Crystal Hansen as a paraprofessional, approval of Lori Hernandez, paraprofessional, and approval of Kelsey Voigt as knowledgeable advisor. Those are the 3 additions to the consent. Any changes for action and discussion?
I'll make a motion to accept the agenda and the changes.
Carl, Jerry, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Passes. Approval of the minutes. A, consider the approval of the minutes of the school board meeting July 15th, 2020.
I'll make a motion to accept the board minutes.
Carl, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Krista? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Passes. B, consider the approval of the minutes of the special board meeting August 6th, 2020.
I'll make the motion to accept it.
Krista? Jerry? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Public comments. Jamie, anything? No? Okay, I didn't have anything either, so no public comments. School board committee updates. Actually, we did have an OPEC.
Yeah,
We had an OPEC meeting.
week ago, I think, and basically we're gonna meet with the coaches and just discuss a lot of items.
Yeah, we obviously talked about the postponement of the sports seasons and coaching vacancies and advertising for those positions. That was about it, I think. The big stuff. Anything else, Jamie, that you can? Oh, the coaches meeting.
Yeah.
Because of all the changes in the way MSHL is doing the sports, coaches are going to be doing things so much differently than they have in the past. And so we thought it would be best to have a meeting with the coaches. So Bill's going to have a meeting with the coaches to talk to them about, you know, what their expectations are as far as the time they're putting in, payment, things like that. So everybody is just on the same page moving forward. Other than that, I think that was about it. Okay, so move to the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve it.
Krista, is there a second? Jerry, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Passes. Financial reports. Bradley.
All right, I'll take the floor next here. Share my screen here. Jamie, can you enable screen sharing? All right, now you got my second screen. So it's a new fiscal year, so this is the results of our first month. I'm not going to dwell on it at all because July is just a really lousy month to look at for school finance. So a lot of what you're seeing is reversal of prior year accruals on revenues and a minimum of staff that are working in July. So it's probably our least representative month of the entire year. So I'm just going to leave it at that. But that, if anybody has any questions on those numbers later, feel free to ask me if you want more information. Moving on to our treasurer's report. We did reduce our cash considerably. A couple of very large checks we made in the month of July. One is our interest payment on our bonds. Another is tuition due to St. Ansgar Public Schools or St. Ansgar Community Schools. We pay them once a year for the kids that attend down there. And we had a fairly large check to SMEC. We'll cover those on the payments, but all of those things kind of add up to a bit of a cash drain in July. Ultimately is a good thing because we otherwise could be paying those bills monthly all year long. They're just kind of saved up to the end. So the questions on cash. I guess one of the things I'll say about cash, interest rates are really terrible right now. So I've got some money sitting there in the Mizloff Max class. It's earning just a little bit better than what we're getting at Sterling, and we get nothing at Sterling. So it's not pretty. I've looked at CDs, I've looked at some kind of term certificates, different things, and it's just there's nothing there. So it's mostly sitting there, and I'm not feeling bad about spending money out of that account as needed. So we had a good run for a while on interest, but not lately. So well, one other thing that's new to your treasurer's report, there's a line for the an escrow account with our LED project. The funds needed to do that LED project were provided through a lease agreement, and they put the money in an escrow account for us. So half of that money was dispersed up front to the contractors, and now that project is wrapped up, they'll probably be asking for the other half. So don't expect to see that one hanging around for too much longer.
Yeah, they replaced all the light bulbs, I'm assuming in the school, with LEDs. And the multi-purpose room.
Who's talking? All right, I'll move on to payments. All right, so as I was mentioning in our treasurer's report, we did have a number of larger checks this time around. Also, you may or may not be conscious of, we changed our payroll structure, so we're now paying payroll twice a month. So you're gonna see more line items for 403B contributions, pension payments, taxes, all that. Our credit card was very boring this month, so that's always a good thing. a number of payments for various software licenses. So Illuminate Education, that one is FastBridge. Familiar with that software. Bottom of the first page is a payment to SMEC. That actually included a final payment on last year's special ed staff, the first payment on this year's special ed staff, plus an amount for the English language learner program that they host. They actually employ the teacher that works with our staff, and also credit recovery. It's also all on that same payment. So that was a big one. Then the top of the next page is the payment to St. Ansgar. I mentioned that before. Christian Brothers seal coating, that is the parking lot. So that's all done. That's we paid half of that up front. So that's the back half. The US bank payment there is our bond payment. So yeah, let me just look that one up real quick. That's escaping me briefly, but I've got. Okay, we bought, it's a bunch of servers. So, and that stuff will be funded 80% through the E-rate program. So that is tech stuff. Any questions? Other questions?
There's no other questions. Is there a motion to approve those?
Did that work? Okay. Superintendent report. Weren't we gonna combine all that and do it just under one?
We did, but you still should take a motion to all of it. You used to do separate motions on the checks and on the wires.
We just did the treasurer's report.
Okay. So is there a motion to pay the bills and invoices?
I'll make a motion.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, now superintendent report.
All right, good evening, everyone. Actually, because I'll be talking a lot later on with the plan, my superintendent report is rather short. First of all, I want to thank Diane Stroh for her faithful service. She has resigned as our media specialist and librarian and tech person. We wish her the best of luck. We will be, and so you guys know, in the Jeff Oyen, our IT person from the tech side, he'll be taking some of that on. They are finalizing the downloading and all the stuff that needs to happen for the iPads, so they should be ready to go rather soon for the students to be handed out. And as far as the library, because this room is not going to be used at this point, we are putting that on hold. We will review soon to see what to work with the city on what we can do with the Selco and to maybe get this running. But according to the health officials, we should be refraining from using the library at this point. greatly unfortunate. But we will look at other ways we can get the books in the hands of students. So there's some requirements that Barb is looking into as far as for the nursing side of things. Couple of building updates you'll notice, and when the families start to return, they're going to see a couple of changes. One, the parking lot is completed, looks fantastic. So I want to thank the Christian brothers for that. Picnic tables area in the back by the football field is done. So thanks to Klaus for that. They did not move as much of the pebble rock as we initially thought. They're going to use a lot of that as fill, and so it wasn't as much as. And then the lighting across the building is fantastic. It's going to be much brighter. And so the retrofit companies finished up last week on that. A lot of rooms, you can tell how much brighter it is. And then scheduling for next week, we have the new teachers coming back on Monday. Normally, all the new teachers across come here on that first Monday to do some tech training, but with the situation we're in, we're going to do virtual, and our staff will be the only ones here. So Jeff is going to be working on that, and in the afternoon, Corey and I and Bradley will be talking with the teachers, just orienting them district and some things. I'm sure they'll have plenty of questions. Corey's been doing a fabulous job of communicating, reaching out to the new teachers, a lot of the curriculum and other things like that. So hopefully those questions are already answered. I'm sure there'll be more. So that is all I have. Again, I'll be talking more. So I'll pass it off to Corey.
All right. When working with the curriculum, as Bradley had stated earlier, all of our curriculum is up to date as far as payments, so that's really exciting. Working with a lot of the companies, they're just from reaching out saying, hey, I'm a new elementary principal. I need to switch over the account so that I have administrative login. And then through the conversations, a few of them have offered free professional development for our teachers, which is really exciting. So instead of piling that on during typical back to school week when teachers have staff development, we're going to kind of push it off into later in September and October, just so that we're not overwhelming our teachers, because coming back into these conditions is going to be overwhelming enough. So we're not going to provide any of it right away in 2 weeks. We're going to hold off on that. I've been working, I know one of the big questions that's out there right now that we have not answered is the preschool question. I know a lot of parents are contacting our preschool teachers, so I've been working with her, and I appreciate everyone's patience with us. A lot of the preschool schedule does determine, or is going to be determined by transportation, and what the elementary is going to be needing for transportation. Our preschool teacher has worked. She presented this outline to me today that was absolutely amazing, the work that she put into it, to show where students are and who will need transportation and who has a sibling that's in elementary school, so that they can sit on the same seats together. So we're working hard. After registration tomorrow, we should hopefully have a better idea between Monday and Tuesday of what we can offer. We want to provide the most hours for our preschool within the means of our transportation. So that will be coming out. We just appreciate everyone's patience still on that. So she deserves a very special shout out because she has put in a lot of work. And also with that, the preschool open house will probably look different. I know Mr. Goebel is going to be talking about open house in a little bit, but for preschool, it will probably look different. Preschool may not begin until the second week of school, so that we could provide an open house that first week and really get everything in the works with preschool and get transportation under works and just get the schedules really figured out so that we can work with the families and the daycares and here for what's going to be best for our youngest learners. And then they would come back. So ultimately our elementary students would have a week under their belt of being in the building. And then when we bring our youngest learners in, it's not mass chaos, and it's more comfortable for parents even dropping off their kids for the first time. So that is coming. So we appreciate everyone's patience on that aspect.
Good. All right. Thank you. Items for action and discussion. Consider adoption of the resolution for adoption of base learning model for the 2021 school year and other COVID-19 related matters.
All right, so this is the it's a fancy way of basically stating, it's, you guys are authorizing, this is our announcement on how we are gonna start the year. Again, how the system works is, every day, Corey and I are keeping track of, we're getting numbers on the number of COVID cases within Moore County. Every Friday I get an email from the Moore County Health Department, and they tell me the numbers for the last 2 weeks. And what that means is over the 14 days, it's kind of a algorithm of where our number is. Our numbers, fortunately, are dropping in Moore County, and but we have not reached the threshold where I feel comfortable. Well, first of all, we're not at the point where we can bring everyone back in. Let's make that clear. But eventually, at a point, the plan we have set up is so that eventually there's a bigger window for us to stay in where we're at in the hybrid model. That's bringing the elementary back 4 days a week and doing distance learning on Friday, and the high school the opposite of that. I want to be very careful with bringing everyone back, just because I don't want to bring it back and a week later the numbers drop and we have to go back to hybrid. So what I'm going to do tonight is kind of just highlight again just the features in the plan. So for the parents and staff members, I'm going to kind of leave it like this. This is a living document. So as we make changes to things, new things come up, we will be updating this and putting this on our website. So on our website, in the upper right-hand corner, it says COVID-19. If parents click on that, that will be the latest. There's a fall and a spring. Spring is all the information passed earlier this year. Anything new will be under the fall. So this will be a living document that will be updated as we feel necessary. Ultimately, what you guys are doing tonight is approving the plan that the plan we've set forward for the school, as well as authorizing me to make necessary changes as long as I communicate them to the public and I communicate to you guys as a board. Okay. I'm going to start off. Again, I'm not going to read through this. We eventually had to make 3 plans, again, in person on one end. That's our ultimate goal, to have everyone back. The other side is the distance learning model. We chose the hybrid in the middle. And the way this is laid out is that we have some of the factors that we have to pay attention to, such as 50% transportation capacity in the school district or in the building to 50% under fire code. That is essentially how we're maxing that out, is using our specialist teachers to co-teach with the elementary teachers. Then we also have the 7-12 schedule in here. The couple of things that I want to highlight, first of all, our nurse has weekly conversations with the Moore County Health and sometimes MDE. From their aspect, they are very clear on concerns, and they're seeing data that we are not maybe as knowledgeable about. But the clear thing is they need parents to understand is if your child is sick, they need to stay home. One of the examples that I could share that Barb encouraged me to share was that if you, as a parent, if I have a student who's not feeling the greatest, if they keep them at home, the next day, there's a chance they could bring that child could come to school if they feel better. Now, again, we'll monitor them if they're sick and other precautions. If the parent sends them to school and they're not feeling good, and Barb or one of us deem that child needs to go home, under the decision tree right now, they are home for 14 days. And we are requiring that there's a doctor's note if that doctor feels that child is cleared of COVID and they can return back to school. So parents have to understand it is very important that they keep their child home. Our staff is going to do that. If they're sick, we're going to have to make adjustments here at the building with staffing from day to day. But if the child is sick, they need to stay home. Okay. The mask coverings, again, that is a state mandate. I think it was in the, we passed that tonight And so there's no way around that. The only situation where a student would be exempt from that is if there's a doctor's note that there's a prior condition that they would exempt them from wearing those. Okay. Some of the questions, I want to thank the parents, take this time right now to thank the parents who have reached out to us, whether it's on Facebook or in the emails. We posted photos of questions and answers on our Facebook page. I know many parents have said they've appreciated that, and so I'm glad we were able to do that for them. Keep those questions coming. One of the questions is, can they wear a face shield instead of a mask? According to the state mandate and in the policy, yes, they can. So, and we're going to do we're going to train the staff to work with, situations like that and make sure that no student is being singled out or picked on because there's a situation where they're going to wear something different than a mask or none at all. That's not going to be tolerated. Water bottles, again, our water fountains will be turned off. So parents need to have on the supply list, it's on there, but make sure they bring water bottles. There will be schedules that week of school. I know the teachers are working even behind the scenes on how they're going to develop their schedule to make sure that there's bathroom breaks, water breaks, easy transitions and staggering throughout the building. A lot of that stuff is just being tweaked, and it's going to be one of those things where we tweak it on the fly. It didn't work today, so what can we do to adjust it? So a lot of those things that I don't put these in here just because it's going to be stuff that we're going to deal with on a daily basis. Yes, so filling stations are on, and we are, we were approved for a grant. Bradley, who was that through? Was it Ship? That we're going to get that one paid for in the gymnasium. So that took a little longer than we thought, but we got the grant filled out and we were awarded that. Other questions that have come up from parents is that, what happens if this child gets sick or a second grader gets sick, then what happens? So this is again how important it is for a parent to keep their child home. If there is I'll just use second grader comes to school and they get sick and we get notified that a student in second grade had COVID, that entire class will be quarantined. Okay, so it is very important that we work as a village and we really take care of our students and the staff in the building so that everyone is protected. So we do not want anyone getting sick, but that'll be we're going to do our best.
The third grade gets quarantined in that kind of scenario. Will they do discipline?
Yes. So the question, in case you didn't hear that, if a student gets sick and their class is quarantined, will they be distance learning? Yes. So in that situation, if the entire second grade teachers will do distance learning, and so we'll have to adjust on the fly. But another way to answer that question is if a student gets sick and no one else was exposed, we will work with those parents to get them their proper education. So what else? Tomorrow night is registration night. And I talked extensively at the special board meeting about this, how it is important to get all the information back from parents. Friday into Monday, we'll be gathering information. So transportation situations are still going to have to be worked out. Food service, how and if we deliver food to specific areas, or if we just need to do it here. Staffing, if there's a good number of parents who decide we're going to do distance learning, we're going to have to adjust things and have a staff member do that. So there's a lot of that stuff, this information. So parents, if you're out there and you're listening, call your friends who attend here and make sure they get this registration turned in tomorrow night so that we can, if they cannot make it tomorrow night, they can call the office and find a different time, but during the day tomorrow, they can drop that stuff off. So it's very important that the more information we have, the better for that. One of the biggest changes that I had a kindergartner last year, and I understand the importance of, and as a parent, to drop off your child first day of school and walk them to the class. It's in our handbook, and it's also in here that no visitors and volunteers will be allowed in the building. I know that's a huge inconvenience for parents. That is something that's kind of like a timeless tradition that all schools have. We just, to protect everyone in the building, parents will have to drop them off at the front. That first day is going to probably be chaotic. We're going to be, trying to figure out, there's no way to practice this. So this is going to be interesting. But we understand that we just ask for parents' patience on that, and take pictures at home, do other things that you can to kind of alleviate any congestion that's going to be out front. Where those drop-off points, we will have maps on the website and on Facebook on if it's something completely out of the ordinary. So, and then let's see, the last thing that I want to show, and I'm actually, and Corey and I are very excited about this. We are required by state, within the executive order, to provide childcare for students who attend Lyle, whose parents are critical workers. Critical workers are under their healthcare professionals, law enforcement, food and agriculture, judicial branches, National Guard, child care and school age care providers, and then educating, or people that school staff. So you're going to hear the term Cubs Club, little kids, little lions. So we have, we're going to use that, and after school, Monday through Thursday, when school gets out, we are going to have staff members take care of them until 4 o'clock. On Fridays, when the K-6 is distance learning, it's going to be throughout the day, and the staff will be, we're just utilizing your paras for this. And so they can bring their iPads, and they'll be able to do whatever their distance learning is taking place from the classroom to their homes. They'll be able to take care of it here. Again, this is just for Lyle attendees. A couple of things that I want your input on here from the board. What we are planning on doing right now, we're required to go till the end during school hours. So school hours usually around 3 o'clock. We are, as a courtesy to our families who are in that role, we're going to give them an extra hour. So it's actually ending at 4 o'clock to protect the time and make sure that we're not overextending our staff. We have put in here, and I'm just going to read it to you. If this, all children must be picked up no later than 4 p.m. If this is not possible, please know you will be charged a fee of $25 per half hour per child. That is $50 an hour. Now that's a lot. The reason, and I want your input on that, is I don't want to, the staff is going to do some cleaning when the last student leaves anyway. So I don't want to extend them any further. So I want to make clear that they have to be picked up before 4 o'clock. If there is any extenuating circumstances, they need to contact us, so we know. Our fear is it's 6 o'clock and we can't get a hold of parents. So we are going to plan to, so I want your input on that. We're going to roll this out through a form, that online registration, and they'll have to prove on that first day of their job to someone here that they are working. You had a question, Wendy?
Well, I just want to make sure I understand. Are we providing that service to just Lyle residents, or
Great.
Lyle
Okay.
everybody? Because then we would have to be qualified transportation.
Oh, great. So great question. The question is it to just Lyle residents? No, it is to any student that is attending Lyle. We are not transporting. So we are not required to. We wouldn't be able to. So parents will have to. So that is an inconvenience to people living in Austin. Now, we debated how to word this in here, but one of the questions was, if a student comes to school in the morning, they can come on the bus, but they would, if they need transportation, but they will not. Their parents would have to come at the end of the day around 4 o'clock to pick them up.
By
4 o'clock. So are you in agreement with the $25? And again, it's steep. That's a purpose for that.
And we are giving them that extra hour.
Right.
It's technically should be free, but we're not.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, there's no cost to the parents.
You have limit for your children, how many kids you're able to provide the service to, first come, first served, wait list. What you got going on for them?
There is no limit. There is nothing that says we can limit. So, but again, the limit is in anyone within those job titles. So,
It has to be critical workers.
I should also mention the age. It would be school age kid through age 12. So 6th grade and under. We initially, I received information from the state today that said preschool is eligible. There's some concerns with that, not because of it's just some the hours, yeah. So if there is a parent who is preschool, they should. I mean, the one fear I have is I don't want this to hurt our local childcare, and so that obviously that's the age they go. So I think if there's questions from parents that are in that area, they should just contact us. Yeah, and what's the question? Yes, yeah, there is no transportation for this. So if another scenario that Corey just reminded me is if I have a student who's going to take advantage of this, and then they have a sibling that's in 7th grade, the 7th grader will be able to use the bus that day, but the younger child would not, because of the limits that we have on our transportation for normal days, they just won't be able to do that. So if a child is attending this, the only time there's district transportation is coming to school on a regular school day.
The state is requiring this. Is there going to be a credit from the state?
There are grants, and Bradley can touch with this. There are grants available that anything, I shouldn't say anything, but if it's under a COVID umbrella, we can utilize some of those funds for things like this.
Yeah, so we've got a grant source that's $80,000 that we've recently received. School age care would be one of the things that we could use that money for. Also, PPE and technology and all sorts of other things as well. But I think that's going to be a big one for us.
Any other questions?
Really, and when we talk, the numbers start to move where we can go in person, but you're not ready yet.
Yeah.
That's gonna be a slow process.
Yeah.
Right? Would there be a way to maybe bring the high schoolers in just one more day a week before you?
That in with the task force, the question is could we slowly bring students more instead of bringing them 5 days a week, adding one additional day. We haven't figured out how that's possible yet, but again, transportation numbers, as I said last week, is going to dictate that. But that is, if we can do a slow crawl back, we will do that. So if that means bringing 7th and 8th grade back first, and then maybe even high school back one additional day, we will do that. And that is something that, again, a running document, as we can make that work, we're going to make that transition. Because I know that as much as the students may not want to come back, they do want to come back.
Oh,
So, and we want to see it. So,
okay, I was just hoping you were open to that.
Yeah.
I mean, I would rather see you go slow.
Yeah. One thing that's been asked is, other schools are bringing them back full time. If we were either a bigger school, a slightly bigger school, or we were 2 buildings, the way the staff would be set up, we probably would be able to do that more. But because of our size and the K-12 model that we're in, we wouldn't hit the 50% capacity, we'd exceed the 50% capacity on the bus and or in the building. So that's one of the challenges that we face. But it's something that we will continue to look at. And I know the staff is, there's the staff, some of them are really good at figuring out schedules and how that works. And I know they're analyzing that too. So if there's a way that we can do it, we will pursue that.
And if I can add, when we met as a task force, we do have goals, and our ultimate goal is to get everyone back in the building. So that's why we decided to keep a daily record of this, so we can see the constant trends. Like right now, it's looking really good, but we don't have students in Moore County in the buildings yet. So once we can see consistently that those numbers are low numbers, then we can start bringing, but ultimately, yeah, we want them back in, all of them.
Any other? So if there are, again, questions that parents have, please email Corey or I, or call the office, and we will get those. A lot of those questions, if we feel that they are going to be valuable to the general public, we will put those on our Facebook page and get those in the hands of parents. So what I need is, again, this is the just a motion to approve the resolution. I do not believe we have to read the whole thing. We'll be here for a while.
We do not need to?
I don't believe we do. Are they a
Okay.
suggestion on that? It's a page and a half, so.
Yeah, okay. If there's no other questions or discussion, is there a motion to approve the return to school plan?
I'll make the motion.
Jerry, Wendy, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Yep.
Wendy,
Oh, Wendy. Yep, Wendy seconded. All right, next item. Consider the approval of the 2021 Student Family Handbook.
Last year, the year before, we made extensive changes to the handbook. So the good thing is there isn't a lot of changes. This year we had to make a few just because in light of the pandemic, some things we, adjusted a little bit. So again, I think last year we requested this, anything, when the parents do receive these, anything that's in gray, shaded, is an update. So I'm just going to go through a few things. There's just they don't need a lot of detail, but please ask if there's any questions. On page 8 of this, we talk about the arrival. Again, that's just talking about how, normally this is about a half a page talking about different arrivals. I made it very vague because it's going to be a situation because everything's going to be different. I didn't want to say one thing in here and then mean something completely different. And then the next thing is on page 14 and 15. So last week, myself, Lawrence, our social worker, listened to a virtual meeting about a Title IX federal update that we'll approve policy in just a little bit. It is a federally mandated that actually went into effect on the 14th. So it really doesn't change a lot of short term, but if there's ever an issue, there's a very systematic way of how myself and the administration have to address these situations. So what we did is, this is just wording to kind of correlate the new federal law. One of those things is we need a Title IX coordinator, which we always did, but this gives a very precise job description. In our discussions, we've chosen me for that role. There is another role that's an appeals person that I would like to have someone from the board do that, and talk to you guys, that person afterwards, be the board chair. Just as sorry, Carrie. But the role is just it's a very systematic the way it's set up, and it's if we make a decision and some party does not agree with it, they can appeal to you, and then we can go next steps. So it works. We never have to deal with, address that situation. Next page is dress code. We added a chemical sensitivity. We've had some concerns over the years here that with the onset of essential oils and other things that there are students who are very sensitive. I personally like them, but I know that they're staff members, people can be very sensitive. So what we've done is added that. This is verbiage from another school that we kind of reformatted for us. The one thing that we added to it was scented hand sanitizer. We want parents to be very cautious about that, just because they're bringing hand sanitizer to the school this year, and they have a strong scent that might also set off some triggers for a staff member or other students. The next thing, I don't have a page number. Because of the situation, we removed for this year temporarily the perfect attendance. I talked to several people, staff members, and said, hey, what do you think about this? And actually, a few staff members actually came up to me and addressed it first. We just didn't want students who's been in perfect attendance to have the pressure come to school when they're not feeling good. And so we're just eliminating that. We'll definitely pursue that in the future. Next page is face coverings. Again, it's just highlighting what's in the expectations. On page 21, we have the same literature that's in the return to school plan about our visitors. Same exact wording. On page 22, we have a report card. Normally, we have much more information on that about conferences, and we don't know what conferences are going to look like. It's on the calendar for some specific dates, but we don't know how that's going to look at that point. So we just took that out. We left some of the stuff. We just removed some of the stuff about the conferences in that area. And then the last thing, student council. This is new. I wanted to make sure that everyone understood what our expectations for student council. I really value that opportunity for students to have a leadership role in the building, to be a voice for the rest of the student body. They are not just a event planning, but it is true leadership. So we have a new person who's going to take over this year. And so I will work with that person, with Julia, to enhance. I don't know how this is going to work with students not being in the building as often, but I wanted to make it very clear what our expectations for them is. So those are the additions to the handbook this year. And these will be handed out to parents on, on the 27th. Yes, I did. One thing I did forget to talk about in the return to school plan, I think it's important, is our open house. And we'll share this extensively on all of our media, but Corey, if I forget anything, let me know. Next Wednesday or next Thursday is picture night. To help parents out who are coming down for picture night, we are going to hand out our iPads to 712 next week. So since they're coming down for pictures, we're going to hand out iPads and that information to make it easier for parents as they're coming in. So from 2 o'clock to 7 p.m., when parents come into the building, they take their picture in the gym, the multi-purpose room, and then walk down, and they'll meet us in the gym, and they'll get that. So they'll be able to get that information. And then on open house on September 2nd, that is primarily only going to be for elementary. Okay. The reason we're concerned is just having that many people in this building. It's just with parents and the possibility of bringing siblings, it was just too many. So we decided to separate that out. If a parent wasn't able to come on the 27th, they can contact the school and we can figure out a time to hand that out.
The high school teacher's gonna be there that night?
On open house, yes.
No.
On the picture night, no. That'll be us handing those out. This is probably new to some of the staff members because I haven't been able to send this information out to them. So, but they won't come in except for their picture, take their pictures that night on the 27th. So
All right.
just need a motion to approve the handbook.
Yep, is there a motion to approve the student family handbook? Andy, is there a second? Krista, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Consider the approval of District Policy 522, Title IX, Sex Non-Discrimination Policy, Grievance Procedures and Process.
So this is a revision of our current policy. Again, this is straight from the MSBA and in accordance with the federal law that went in effect. So there really isn't much that we can change except who the Title IX coordinator is. I'm okay with being that person. So any questions on that? It's pretty straightforward. There isn't much we can change on that.
Is there a motion to approve
I'll make.
Policy 520? Carl, is there a second? Whoop, who got that one? Krista? Krista. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Passes. 1-year contract of confidential administrative assistant for Heather Small, July 1 to June 30th, 2021.
I just wanted the highlights, I guess, of what changed.
Just the changes from last year's contract to this year's contract.
The changes we had this year, we increased wage rates by 2.5%. And we changed the total work days to 260, which essentially turned it into a full-time position. They were actually working that anyway already, so we just kind of made the contract match up with what was actually happening. In some districts, you have admin assistants, secretaries, pick your job title, but they are off duty for certain months. You sometimes have that with the admins in their building, so it makes sense. The whole building shuts down. In our case, they're here.
Not the, like in the summer, they just work Thursday, Monday through Thursday.
They've been doing 410s, so they're still working full time that week. So we're not actually changing anything there other than the language in the contract. But then we did increase the health insurance contribution, and we brought that up to what was in the non-certified contract. So they were actually a couple years behind that contract. Then we put in language for dental, long-term disability, and life insurance, which were actually all things that they had already. So we made no changes to holidays, vacation, sick leave, or any other kinds of leaves.
Any other questions? If not, is there a motion to approve the contract for Heather Small?
I'll make a motion.
Carl, is there a second? Jerry? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Passes. Same thing for Betty. Is there a motion to approve administrative assistant contract for Betty Meyer?
I make a motion.
Carl? Jerry? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Let's see. Is that it for our action discussion? Yes, okay. School board member comments. I would just like to take a minute too, as well, to thank Diane Stroh from the school board, just for all of her years of service. Diane worked for our district, served our students and our families for, was it 17 years? Is that? Okay. So a large number of years. So we just want to thank Diane. She did a great job for us and just want to wish her well on her new adventure. So I think that's all I have. Anyone else?
I would say that I'm so proud of the staff, all the teachers and all the hard work that they've done. You just see like so much thought, effort, and heart has gone into this plan. And I'm very proud of the staff that we have here.
Indeed, they've been they've shown resiliency over the months, and this summer, where they hopefully are taking their time enjoying the summer, that a lot of them are contacting us and working. So yes, and this is across the board, not just teachers, but everyone. It's been fantastic to see.
And thank you so much for the communication that you've been putting out on Facebook with the questions and the answers. I've gotten a lot of really good feedback from people on that. It's been very helpful, and I think it's eased a lot of concerns that people have had, and that's been a great thing. So thank you for doing that.
Well, we know that if one person has a question, there's a lot more people with that same question.
Absolutely. Yep, absolutely. Anyone else? All right. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll make the motion to adjourn.
Carl, that was kind of slow. Is there a second? Jerry, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Closed at 6:59.
Thank you and have a good night.